أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على رسولنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه وسلم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله Ramadan Mubarak to everyone. Inshallah, Ramadan has been going well for you with blessings so far. And may Allah make the rest of Ramadan full of blessings for all of you. For this week and the next 3 weeks, we decided to cover topics from Qur'an that are related to Ramadan. And for this first week, inshallah, we are intending to start with 3 verses from Surah Al-Baqarah, the second chapter of the Qur'an, which is describing an interesting relationship of fasting, Qur'an, and our consciousness of the Creator. So, inshallah, we will go through that. And if you have any comments throughout the discussion, just feel free to raise your hand and then you can chime in. Okay, so Atiq, would you like to read the Arabic version if you are available?
Sure. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون.
Jazakallah khair. So, O you who have attained to faith, fasting is ordained for you as it was ordained for those before you, so that you might remain conscious of God. So let's read all of them once very quickly, then we will come back to this first verse. And Abdurrahman, are you available for reading this verse?
Sure. The English or what? Sure.
Arabic, and then if Aisha is around, she can also read the English.
So all 4 of them, you're saying?
Yes, it's a single verse. I just split it into lines.
Oh, okay. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أياما معدودات فمن كان منكم مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام من أخر وعلى الذين يطيقونه فدية طعام مسكين فمن تطوع خيرا فهو خير له وأن تصوموا خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون.
Fasting during a certain number of days. Okay, that's continuing. But whoever of you is ill or on a journey shall fast instead for the same number of other days. And in such cases, it is incumbent upon those who can afford it to make sacrifice by feeding a needy person. And whoever does more good than he is bound to do, does good unto himself thereby. For to fast is to do good unto yourselves, if you but knew it.
Jazakallah khair. And Brother Birkan, are you available for reading? He was sick today. Maybe not. Okay, I'm reading this one. شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان فمن شهد منكم الشهر فليصم ومن كان مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام أخر يريد الله بكم اليسر ولا يريد بكم العسر ولتكملوا العدة ولتكبروا الله على ما هداكم ولعلكم تشكرون. It was the month of Ramadan in which the Quran was bestowed from on high as a guidance unto men and a self-evident proof of that guidance, and as the standard by which to discern the true from the false. Hence, whoever of you witnesses this month shall fast throughout it. But he that is ill or on a journey shall fast instead for the same number of other days. God wills that you shall have ease and does not will you to suffer hardship. But he desires that you complete the number of days required, and that you extol God for his having guided you aright, and that you render your thanks unto him. So let's go back. Start from the beginning. And I will appreciate inputs from you. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, O you who have attained to faith, kutiba alaykum as-siyam kama kutiba ala alladhina min qablikum. Fasting is ordained for you as it was ordained for those before you. لعلكم تتقون, so that you might remain conscious of God. So I will just mention a few points in here, then ask for your opinions. And if anything remains that I would like to say further, I'll go ahead. So what attracts my attention, or as the general theme of this verse, so the addressee of this verse is believers, interestingly. This is one point to think about. And this is in the past tense, believers, or the ones that have attained to faith. Something to think about. Then there's this second theme of fasting is ordained to believers. What does that mean? Why is fasting ordained? Is it like commanded, or how can we understand this fasting is being ordained to believer? What is the relationship between fasting and believing? And then a third theme in here is it is ordained to you as it was ordained to those before you. So why is there this emphasis of previous believers or previous people, I guess believers, being ordained with fasting as well? Why am I being reminded about this? And again, at the very concluding part, maybe answering those questions, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, so that you might remain conscious of God. So how do we see the relationship between fasting and God consciousness? These are seemingly the main themes in this verse. So first, let me start with you. Any comments that you would like to make about maybe these points, or anything else that you would like to mention? I'm waiting for your hands. Okay, until you raise your hands, I will start with something from the very beginning. So Qur'an speaks to humanity, but in here it is speaking to human plus belief. So it looks like there is a relationship or something that I'm going to learn through fasting, but there is like a prerequisite, maybe, which is belief. So then what comes to my mind on top of that is, so fasting is going to improve my faith. And again, what was faith? So faith, as we have been discussing or defining throughout our discussions, it is my security, like my conviction. I am sure about something. I am sure that this universe must have a creator, for example. I am convinced about that. Or I am convinced that there must be an afterlife. I am sure about it. So this is what belief means, because even the word itself refers to security. I am secure about it. I am sure about it. So, and as it is coming in here in the past form, past tense, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. So, O you who have attained to faith, So faith is not a once upon a time or once in a lifetime thing to do. It is as my life is changing, ever changing, every moment. My world is changing, and also my understanding or my response to this world is also changing. So, for instance, this coronavirus pandemic is something new, which I have never experienced before. So, my previous convictions, does it cover this new uh, challenge, if you would like to take it as a challenge, or this new circumstances, does it cover? Still, does it carry over to this new case as well? Am I still convinced? So belief is something that needs to be renewed. And as if this verse is saying that you have some conviction, right? As if my creator says, you have some conviction, you have some security. So here is something that I am giving to you so that you remain God conscious. Because it is like the state of belief is something to be maintained and it needs to be carried over. So fasting is apparently something that is going to work for it. Might be an awkward example, but if you buy a brand new car and if you keep using this car, definitely you need to change the oil after some point. So because the car doesn't stand still. There is this constant machinery running inside, and then we need to maintain the car so that it's not going to break. So how does fasting maintain my belief or machinery of my belief? This would be one of the main themes of today's discussion. And apparently this initial verse is stating that fasting is ordained to those who believe. So if we go with the car analogy, adding oil is ordained to the cars which has this internal combustion engine. So if it's an EV, like electrical vehicle, then yeah, you don't need to change oils for that. But for a certain type, like for human, but human plus belief, so belief needs to be maintained, and fasting is ordained for that purpose. And again, what sort of a maintenance is it? لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, so that you might remain conscious of God, as if now it's indicating what was meant by belief in the first place. So that because my belief is that I am sure that I am being maintained, I am being taken care of in this existence. It's not that chances are driving me, running me, or it's not that natural laws are taking care of me, but rather there must exist a merciful one who is constantly watching over me and giving me the air that I breathe, giving me the all the feelings that I am going through, and saving me from loneliness. So all these things are being given to me by someone who is watching over me. So, but this consciousness, this state of consciousness is something to be maintained. It can easily go away. Yeah, I can say that, yeah, once I definitely, there has to be a God, but how much of this consciousness remains with me? And how can I keep it alive? And I personally experienced this a lot, and you can share your experiences as well. But this consciousness, maybe after having a discussion like this, the level of consciousness increases. But afterwards, when I turn back to my work or like regular life, or when I am riding the SEPTA bus, so where am I? Mentally, maybe I am being somewhere totally different. And when I'm driving, somebody honks the horn, then I get angry, I forget everything, but I just get lost in this, whatever is going on right there. So being conscious of my creator, somebody who is constantly taking care of me, watching over me, is just going out of the window immediately, many of the time, if not most of the time. So how do I maintain this consciousness? I guess this is what I am taking from this verse is the Creator says, I will help you with that. I know that this is your problem. And this is why now the middle part of the sentence comes, كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الصِّيَامُ كَمَا كُتِبَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ. Fasting is ordained for you. This is why I'm ordaining, or I am, like the literal word is writing. I wrote fasting to you. So, and then there's this other part. What is your opinion? Please help me with the second part. كَمَا كُتِبَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ. As it was ordained for those before you. Why is this being mentioned here, do you think? Fasting being ordained to people. Yes, Brother Birkan, please go ahead.
Jazakallah khairan. So I just want to say something about this being ordained. So please take whatever I say now with a grain of salt, because my lack of knowledge in Arabic. But the word kataba is used, kutiba, right? Not, for instance, the amr, the order. So it is as if it is written for you. And like a similar usage of the kataba, for instance, I was just looking in the Quran in Ali Imran, Surah Ali Imran, verse 145. It says, there is no, it is not possible, there are different translations. There is no for anyone to die except by permission of Allah at a decree determined. Like there is no death unless it is written by Allah in a determined at a determined time. So kataba is like it is written for you. It is part of your life, kind of. It is decided by Allah for you, is good for you. It's not just, it is ordered for you to do something, that you have to fast. Why? Because, it was ordered. Of course, there's value in such an understanding as well, because you are following an order of your Lord, which is valuable. But at the same time, this verse, I think it tells me that the fasting, whatever it is, like you should understand, you should study it carefully, because it is part of your belief. It's not something external to your belief. It is written for you as a believer. So you are supposed to go through it. Again, it's not something, there's a journey of belief, and as an external order, there is fasting. It is not like this. It says, we thought that it is very suitable for you, so it is written for you that you would fast. So we should extract something very valuable from fasting, which would tell us something like at the core of our belief. Because if it is written for believers, again, not ordered, but written for believers, it means it is part of this journey of belief. It is at the core of belief, whatever we understand from fasting.
So then, just to continue on top of this, and then I'll leave it to Atik. So can we think of it like a curriculum? Let's say I'm getting into College of Engineering, and they are saying that, okay, taking calculus is written or ordained to you. So rather than taking it as a burden, I would say, well, I am opting in for this education because I would like to become an engineer. And apparently this course is a core course that I need to take because it's part of the central theme of what I'm going to learn. So this is why yes, this is why it is written for me, in the sense that it is written to, if you like, my human quote unquote nature. Like, I am ordained to be merciful. And Adam was writing this as a question, where is it written? So in humans' character, if you like, having empathy, for instance, is something ordained. I see that this is how I am meant to be. If I don't have pity towards other, I am feeling disturbed. Likewise, but this is a specific case about belief now, because as a human, belief is a necessity now. But once I take, because without belief, I am being overwhelmed with the transitory life. So belief is ordained for a human in general. But within belief, for those who believe, fasting is ordained, meaning that this is a necessary part of maintaining your belief. So part of the curriculum, because life is an education, a part of that curriculum is you go through this experience of fasting, and then you are going to learn what you're supposed to learn in the proper way. If you skip this class, you're not going to be able to, I mean, in the case of a calculus, let's say, if you skip the class or drop the class, you will not be able to graduate as an engineer. Likewise, if you drop the class or education of fasting, you're going to have trouble or maybe never reach God consciousness. So this is what I understand. And Brother Atik, please go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say that from this part, I understand that there is a connectedness between this religion and the other religions that came before us, specifically maybe the Jews and the Christians, and this is related to Iman or faith, because one of the, or a couple of the principles of faith is believing in the previous books, the previous messengers, and I guess accepting fasting is kind of accepting these principles of faith in that sense. And I guess if I consider why it's important to affirm these principles, it's to affirm that that God has always been sending guidance to mankind, that he always cares for humans to have the option of attaining guidance if they should be seeking it.
Jazakallah khair. And also there seems to be like a communal aspect of this as well. Like fasting is the most individual worship that you can think of, I guess. Like if you are fasting by yourself, nobody would know you are fasting. Like people would know if you are praying, if you are doing Hajj or anything of this sort. Or let's say if you are giving charity to someone, still there's a second party that takes what you are giving. But in fasting, you simply don't eat. So nobody notices it. It looks like it's a very individual type of worship. But as we will see further in the following verses, but starting from here, fasting is not ordained only to you, it was ordained to those before you. Like as if time-wise also, it's like everybody had been ordained with this. So there's a communal aspect of this worship. Why is that important? We will come to that in the following verses when he talks about the month of Ramadan, because it's not like fasting is that much important, okay, and now we'll go ahead and randomly pick 15 days, 10 days, 20 days, whatever, throughout the year, and by yourself, do your fasting. And Atik is going to pick his own days, Birkan is going to pick his own days, and I'm going to pick my own days. But not like that, as we will see. So, but this is not only the case for the people that are living at the same time, but also across the time, as if the Creator says, I ordained people for fasting, or believers for fasting, because it is as if as global of a thing, because I am the creator of mankind, he says, as if, and I know the needs of people, and I ordained this to people across the time as well. So as if just to highlight the importance of fasting. Anybody wants to add? Okay, Abdurrahman and Aisha, please go.
Just some abstract thoughts from everything that's been mentioned. Thank you. So this idea of fasting, I've been thinking. I'm thinking about it. Like, what is fasting? It's we're for us. Maybe it's abstaining from food, or it's abstaining from other things in our daily lives, or maybe we're trying to live extra religiously. In some ways, we're trying to be more conscious or live more focusedly. There's some type of keeping ourselves back from something and trying to focus on something else type of thing in fasting. And going off what has already been said about fasting, it's been written into your life. Like, it's something that's been written for you, that you experience in your life. I'm thinking, maybe in Ramadan we're fasting, let's say willingly, like we choose to abstain from food and other things. But in other times in life, maybe it's written for us to fast in ways that we didn't even choose. For example, maybe you're going through a rough time, or maybe you don't have that much food, or you're going through difficulty in your workplace, or you're going through difficulty in other areas of your life. And like, let's say you have to fast from like joy or different periods. Like, so you go through different periods where you experience a lack of something. And going off like this idea, like for the believer, the one that has that's aminu, it's this can be a fast for you rather than just experiencing a lack of something, or going through maybe some suffering or something else. Hmm? Deprivation, exactly. It could be a fasting for you, a fasting where this makes you so that you remain God conscious. Like, it doesn't, like it holds meaning for you. Yeah, and I guess, like, just last point is there are many in like our lives. Sometimes we are in abundance of things, and then sometimes we are in lacking of things. We go through like these cycles, and there's like for the believer those and I guess it kind of touches on the point that as those before you, it reminds me of that fasting has been written into your life just as it has been written into other people's life, just as it is part of the order. It's saying like this is the order of creation, and you will go through this experience of fasting in your life. It's going to be written for you. This is part of the order. It's not something extraordinary or something unusual. It's not, let's say, a punishment. Maybe like it is like part of what's been written for you, and you will go through some fasting.
Jazakallah khair. Very beautiful. So, yes, Brother Birkan, please go ahead.
Very quickly, like if you are planning to go to the next slide, I also want to highlight the structure of the verse. Like, it starts with amanu, belief, and in the beginning we have siyam, the fasting, and then ends with the taqwa, tattaqun. So the fasting is kind of like a bridge between belief and God consciousness. So this is what fasting is. It acts as a bridge between your belief and God consciousness. So if we take fasting as just being hungry for a month, not eating food, or maybe becoming more resilient to hardships, or whatever you choose, you just, losing the crux of fasting. The fasting is an experience. Fasting is a means from your belief reaching the God consciousness, living your belief in his presence. This is fasting. It's so important, so central to your iman, so central to your connection with your Lord.
Thank you. Very important emphasis. Yes. So belief, fasting, God consciousness. So to maintain God consciousness, being constantly in that state, fasting is a necessary training that's going to lead me to that state. And then in the following two verses, we are going to talk about how does fasting result in that? Why is abstaining from food or other things make me God conscious? We will talk about that. And if any, just keep thinking about that, and you can make comments about this. Ayyaman ma'dudat. This is a continuation of the previous sentence. So fasting is ordained to you during a certain number of days. فَمَنْ كَانَ مِنْكُمْ مَرِيضًا أَوْ عَلَى سَفَرٍ فَعِدَّةٌ مِنْ أَيَّامٍ أُخَرَ. But whoever of you is ill or on a journey shall fast instead of for the same number of other days. If you are ill or on a journey, then keeping the number of days the same, but in certain other days, still you should fast. وَعَلَى الَّذِينَ يُطِيقُونَهُ فِدْيَةٌ طَعَامُ مِسْكِينٍ. And in such cases, it is incumbent upon those who can afford it to make sacrifice by feeding a needy person. فَمَنْ تَطَوَّعَ خَيْرًا فَهُوَ خَيْرٌ لَهُ. And whoever does more good than he is bound to do, does good unto himself thereby. وَأَنْ تَصُومُوا خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ. For to fast is to do good unto yourselves. إِن كُنْتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ. If you but knew it. So in here, I'm seeing an emphasis on the numbers of those fasting days. And combining it with the previous sentence, saying that fasting is ordained to you, as if, but opening a parenthesis, for certain days, certain number of days. And by the following part of the verse, it says, well, I would like you to keep those number of days. If you are sick or on a journey, again, being sick and journey, why are these important? We can discuss this, but briefly, these are some hardships, hard conditions, which are even on the surface, physically challenging to abstain from feeding. So you better eat in these times, just on the very surface level. So even if you are not able to do it for such reasons or these two reasons, then you do it afterwards, but for the same number of days. So there's an emphasis on the number of days. We can let's put a question mark over there. Why is those numbers important? Then he says, and in such cases, you feed a needy one if you can afford it. So as either a replacement or addition, the grammar allows both. If you cannot fast, then you should feed a needy one. And then he says, فَمَنْ تَطَوَّعَ خَيْرًا فَهُوَ خَيْرٌ لَهُ. So, and whoever does more good than he is bound to do, does good unto himself thereby. So if you feed more or if you do more fasting, it's going to be better for yourself. Again, as if you are not feeding the Creator. Whatever is being described over here is for your own good. For example, if we go back with our calculus class, so if you skip the classes, as if the professor is saying that here I am setting you 14 weeks of calculus, and you should be studying to this class 3 hours per week for the assignments, let's say. And then he says, if you are sick or let's say having a emergency visit to somewhere and you skip some classes, then you should take or listen to the recordings of the class, something like this, I guess, if we have applied as a metaphor. But if you study more than 3 hours, let's say, it's for your own good. It's not for me, the professor would say. You are not taking this course for me. You are not studying more for myself. It's all for yourself. And تَصُومُوا خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ. For to fast is to do good unto yourselves. And then it concludes with saying, in kuntum ta'lamun, if you but knew it. And this actually very well fits into the metaphor that I have been carrying over. At the end of the class, if the professor says, I mean, if you know it, studying is for your own good. I have no benefit you studying for those courses, or I'm not going to get anything extra, less, more. I mean, it doesn't affect me at all, whether you take this class or you don't take this class, skip the classes, whatever. It's all for you if you are aware of it, if you know what is going on. So I will stop here and would like to hear your opinions about this number during a certain number of days. Why do you think is that this emphasis of number of days in there? Or if you have any other comments regarding the journey and being sick, these two being replaced by something else. Go ahead, Atik.
I feel like it's a certain number of days is emphasized because it's like saying it's only a certain number of days. Like fasting, it might be difficult, but you know it's important for establishing your connection with your Lord. And this is, but it's only for a certain number of days. You don't have to do it all the time, even if it's still better to do it throughout the year or whatever. And I think the importance of fasting is also underlined through these other things, like even if you're deserve an exception, there are things that you should do to make it up, and there's no real limit for how much you can make it up, because you can't really attain the level of fasting without actually having done the fast. There's something about doing the actual act of fasting that you can't get just by an exception.
Yes, Jazakallah khair, very beautiful. And while listening to that, I get caught with فَمَنْ كَانَ مِنْكُمْ مَرِيضًا. So whoever of you is ill. So still, also in the previous verse, the addressee is believers, or in here, if somebody among you is sick, as if again, I would like to emphasize once more, is fasting really a communal worship? Because in here, the Creator says, from among you, those who are sick can do it later on, as if addressing again the believers as a group and saying that this worship of fasting is going to carry you some message, in the sense that it's a communal worship. So definitely I learned something individually by abstaining from eating, but what do I learn by knowing that Atik, Birkan, and all the others are fasting as well, and a lot of people in the city that I'm living in are fasting as well. So what does this tell me? What am I supposed to learn out of that? So much so that, as if the Creator is talking about an exception, saying that for those who are sick, okay, they are getting this message, the God consciousness, through other means. Like fasting is going to give me God consciousness. How? I'm just telling you a few things, and if you have others, please add. Like, I am realizing that I am needy, because for the rest of the time, when I am hungry, or not even hungry, just some sort of appetite arise in me, I simply go to the fridge, open it, and take either like some fruit or like a cold water or juice, and simply drink it. I do not even notice, and I take it for granted that it's always there. And since I am not truly feeling the need for it, just the tiniest or slightest urge comes, I immediately reach out to it and eat it. And since I don't need it really, I don't appreciate it really either. And since I am taking it from fridge, I'm feeling like, okay, like this is mine, my food, I ate it. If I throw it away, and if you see me throwing it away, and if you argue against me, I would say, who are you to talk about what I am doing on my own property? This is my food. If I like it, I eat it. If I dislike it, I throw it into the trash. It's mine. But when I'm doing fasting, at the personal level, what I'm realizing is the water that I used to think is mine, apparently it's not mine, because its owner, the owner of the water, which is also my owner, I do not own myself either, tells me that you cannot touch this water. The simplest thing that you always do every day, you're not allowed to do it. And this reminds me that I am not the owner of water, I'm not the owner of myself, I'm not the boss at all. So this is reminding me that someone else is my owner. My creator had been taking care of me so far. The one that was giving me water now is telling me that you have been forgetting the very basic thing that I am the creator and owner of water. And also I am the creator of the need in you. I know that you are in need of water. But right now I would like to stop you from using this water for a certain number of days and for a certain period within the day, so that you remember or you train yourself to say that, oh, you are the creator and I am the one that is needy, that is being provided. You have been providing me so far. This is the personal, individual gain that I get from my own fasting. Good, so far so good. But what is the benefit of me knowing that Atik and Birkan is also fasting today? Why is here, creator is still in this verse, continues saying that unless Birkan and Atik are sick, they should be fasting with you in the same day as well. Any ideas? How is this helping me about my God consciousness? Why are they not within random days? Like, this is a general question. Maybe the answer might not be necessarily in this verse. Yes, Atik.
I feel like it could be reassuring to know that you are not the only one that's been chosen to do this, to undertake this difficulty that is fasting, but that it's a sort of standard that is given to everyone to share. And I feel like that could be reassuring.
Yes. But how about God consciousness part of it? So, like in terms of being hardship, yes, it is like, at least it makes you feel good. It's not only me going through this trouble. But how do I get to know my creator more if I know that the same thing that I concluded for myself, which was, I am not my owner. When I realized that Atik and Birkan are also not eating, not touching the water, and even my boss or the people that I revere highly, they are also fasting. The people that I thought are stronger than I am or more capable than I am seeing that they're also fasting today, like more knowledgeable, whatever. So which makes me realize that my creator is the creator of all. We are all his creation. We are being provided by him. So he has power over all of us. So it's not a perfect example, but just to maybe make you feel what that might mean. Two examples. First, let me go with a more correct example. Then I'm going to give something maybe more relatable. So like the worship of Hajj, pilgrimage, it is also a vast communal worship. And if you have been to that environment, just stepping into that environment of millions of people, just being present in that same valley with you for the same purpose is an overwhelming consciousness in and of itself. Like just the environment speaks to you so strongly that in that environment, you reach the same consciousness so quickly. I mean, if you were by yourself in the same valley at a different time of the year, you wouldn't realize this God consciousness. What is the God consciousness that you realize when there are millions of people at the same place at the same time for the same purpose? You realize the grandeur of the Creator, and then you as if experience it. You just sense it immediately that, oh, the one that I am, that is providing me, that is my provider, sustainer, is the provider of all of these people. So just this is, I would say, the correct example of that. But you can also sense it in a similar fashion, but in a wrong setup maybe. If you have ever been to a soccer match or any sort of this congregational chanting, let's say, you might be supporting your team at home. I mean, you are watching the game over the TV, but okay. But once you are in this stadium, like 50,000 people chanting at the same time for the same thing, and everybody's heart is beating for the same, like this sphere ball to get into this goal, everybody has the same goal in there. So you definitely feel different in there. Your realization of, in that case, it would be like brotherhood, oh, my team, whatever sort of a thing. But definitely just the scene itself, the congregational aspect of this act of playing or supporting the team will make you realize it immediately. But this is a wrong example in the sense that who cares if you support that team or this team, if they win or if they lose, you don't gain anything at the end of the day. But now let's carry it back to our Hajj example, or eventually to fasting. So my realization was, I am needy. And despite the fact that I thought I am rich, or with my wallet, at least I can buy water. Now I'm realizing that it's not my money that is buying water. But on top of that, it's not the people that are stronger than me, richer than me. They're also as weak as I am. As weak as I am. They are not any stronger than me when it comes to our relationship with our provider, our sustainer, our Lord. We are all the same, equally distant from our Creator. It's not that, oh, somebody stronger than me is closer to God in terms of strength. Not at all. We are all the same needy creatures, and we are like abd in the sense that we are all needy slaves. Like, I know the word slave is a little bit iffy to use, especially in this culture, but in terms of having nothing at all in my hands, Birkan is the same, Atik is the same. So knowing and observing that they are going through the same experience gives me this certainty more. So God consciousness is increasing. This is why these days, or this worship being addressed to a community of believers rather than, oh, you who believe, a certain person, a single person. No, as a group, the addressee is a group here. So it indicates that this worshiping of fasting being communal has a very important aspect on my God consciousness as well. Any comments that you would like to add for this verse? For the interest of time, I will pass to the next verse if there's no comments. Okay. Now, after these two verses comes the third verse. شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان. It was the month of Ramadan in which the Quran was bestowed from on high as a guidance unto men and a self-evident proof of that guidance, and as the standard by which to discern the true from the false. Now we came to a very interesting point, because the first two verses were talking about the importance of fasting, and the fasting being certain number of days and it being communal, and unless you are having a journey or sick, you should do it among those days. And if you are sick, still do it for the same number of days later on. But now comes the month. And when the month of Ramadan is being described here, interestingly, not in terms of fasting at the very beginning. It is being described in terms of Quran. So this verse could have been as month of Ramadan is the month in which you are supposed to do those counted number of fastings. And also, you know what? Quran is revealed in this month as well as an additional information, but not like that. The sentence is not formed like this, but it says, it made the introduction about fasting in the previous verses, but in here it says, Ramadan is the month in which Quran is revealed. And then goes with a description of Quran, saying that Huda linnas is a guidance unto men. And this is important now. The guidance of Quran is to mankind. And fasting was being ordained to believers. So this, we should again keep in mind what might be meant by this nuance over there. It's not like Hudan lil mu'minin, for instance, in here. No, it is Hudan lin nas, guidance to mankind. وَبَيِّنَاتٍ مِّنَ الْهُدَى, and a self-evident proof of that guidance, وَالْفُرْقَانِ, and as the standard by which to discern the true from the false. So this description of Quran is very beautiful. Anything that you would like to say about this? Let me first hear it from you. Why these three aspects being emphasized? Hudan linnas. So while you are thinking, I will start with the first one. So I am in need of guidance. And this is why I'm going to school, for example. I don't know how to do things. And if you would like to become an engineer, then you go to College of Engineering. But how about life itself? What is going on in this life? So what am I supposed to do? I found myself in here. So if I just invite you to my house and you come here, then after an awkward silence, what would you say? Okay, thank you, but why are we here? What am I supposed to do? Or what's the purpose of this invitation? This is exactly how it happened. I found myself in this world, and apparently it's not like I'm going to be let to stay in here eternally. And there is like this deadline, unknown deadline, which it can come at any moment. So then after this awkward silence, you say, why am I here? Why am I brought to here? So I am in need of a guidance for such questions. And then وَبَيِّنَاتٍ مِّنَ الْهُدَى, and it's a self-evident proof of that guidance. So Quran is this guidance, and it's a self-evident proof. بَيِّنَاتٍ مِّنَ الْهُدَى. So self-evident proof, what I understand from that is, I should be able to, like, when I read Quran, what does it mean? If I ask this question, what does this mean? I should have a way to evaluate what does it mean. So it must be talking about something that is familiar to me. It should make sense to me clearly. This is why if it talks about me, and if it talks about the environment that I'm living in, I would say, yeah, actually it makes sense. This perfectly makes sense if I read it as such. And this is what we have been trying to do in these discussions, for instance. We have been so far, the You in Quran series, there are stories in Quran of messengers. And if I take it as their stories, then I haven't seen them. And how am I going to just, if I take it as a historical story only, how am I supposed to just make sense of the story given that there are a lot of missing pieces? If the purpose of that text was to teach me a history lesson, I would say it doesn't work really. But if it's bayinat min al-huda, if it's a guidance first of all, so it's a guidance for me in the first place. Second, it's a self-evident guidance. So I should say, in my environment, in my circumstances, this is supposed to make sense. So this is a description of the Quran, by the way. Like, this is how revelation is supposed to be, and also how I should be taking revelation as. It must be something that is self-evident, because otherwise, this is the guidance that I'm expecting from my creator. And to the extent that it is hidden or unclear to me, what am I supposed to do with that? And this is why, again, we have been reading these verses as they are directly addressing me, talking about me. And Wal Furqan, this is the third attribute of Quran or scripture as being described in this verse. It is the standard by which to discern the true from the false. Personally, I take this to be very important because this is something that I need so strongly, like a criterion by which I can distinguish right from wrong. And if we look at all our social environment, for instance, we are getting into a social environment so that we get some sort of a like a set of values with which we will figure out life. I mean, you might be in a Muslim environment, in a Christian environment, you are born into this certain group, or you say that, okay, this group is not good enough for me anymore. Then you go to another group, maybe you become like in old days, maybe not anymore, nowadays too much, I'm going to become a communist, another system of values. So we are seeking for a system of values to, let's say, sail through life. What is right, what is wrong? It's not that I am coming up with my own set of values. I'm looking for a proper set of values, and I am trying to say, well, this one works here, this one doesn't work there. But again, with trial and error, I am failing. So I am in need of a value system with which I will be able to distinguish right from wrong. This is something that I definitely need. And my creator, the one that gives me this need, should be satisfying, should be addressing this need as well. And this is what Quran is. It is Furqan. It is the criterion by which I am going to be able to distinguish right from wrong. Then after making this introduction with describing Ramadan as the month in which Quran is revealed. By the way, this part, what does it mean that Quran is revealed in this month? I'm just putting a question mark there, and I would like to hear your opinions about this. I will continue with the rest of the verse, but please prepare your thoughts about this. فَمَنْ شَهِدَ مِنْكُمُ الشَّهْرَ فَلْيَصُمْهُ. Hence, whoever of you witnesses this month shall fast throughout it. وَمَنْ كَانَ مَرِيضًا أَوْ عَلَى سَفَرٍ فَعِدَّةٌ مِنْ أَيَّامٍ أُخَرٍ. But he that is ill or on a journey shall fast instead for the same number of other days. Now, the way I understand this one is placing the previous verse into the context of Ramadan now, saying that whoever comes to this month should be fasting. So first of all, my understanding of this is, why shall I be fasting? As it's hence, whoever of you who witnesses, as if it is related to Quran. My fasting in this month is related to Quran. In the previous verses, it was about God consciousness. Now Quran is added into the picture. How am I going to reach God consciousness? Fasting itself was making me reach my God consciousness through realizing my neediness. But in here, something extra now came into the picture. Ramadan is the month in which Quran is revealed, and Quran is such and such and such. Therefore, if you get to this month, if you witness this month, then you should fast. If you are not able to, again, opening a parenthesis, if you are not able to due to being sick or having a journey, do it same number of days at a different time, at a later time. يريد الله بكم اليسر ولا يريد بكم العسر. God wills that you shall have ease and does not will you to suffer hardship. وَلِتُكْمِلُوا الْعِدَّةَ. But he desires that you complete the number of days required. Again, another emphasis saying that, yes, the purpose in here is not to torture you, but he is willing your ease. It's not that he is willing your hardship, yet he wants you to complete these days. And again, let's tie this back to the beginning, Quran. And we will talk about this. I would like to hear this from you. I'll just finish. وَلِتُكْمِلُوا الْعِدَّةَ وَلِتُكَبِّرُوا اللَّهَ عَلَى مَا هَدَاكُمْ. This part is another interesting and important part that I would like to highlight and hear your comments about this. And that you extol God for his having guided you aright. وَلِتُكَبِّرُوا اللَّهَ عَلَى مَا هَدَاكُمْ. For my guidance, for the fact that I am guided, I'm going to extol, glorify the Creator. How is that again being done with fasting? Another question mark. This is the second question mark. وَلَعَلَّكُمْ تَشْكُرُونَ. And that you render your thanks unto him. So as now another outcome of fasting is for glorification, offering my thanks to my Creator. Yes, I talk too much. Time to iftar is getting close. So who wants to help me with making me take some breathe? Because my mouth is getting dry. Why is fasting related to Ramadan? Or why fasting is related to Quran, sorry. What is the relationship between Quran being revealed in Ramadan? Any idea about that? What does it mean? Because historically we know that Quran is revealed throughout 23 years. What does it mean that Quran is revealed in this month? And again, while asking this question for you and me, what does it mean that Quran is revealed in Ramadan? And what does it have to do with fasting? Any comments? Silence. Good. So, okay, Abdurrahman, please go ahead. Thank you.
I don't have much to say, just so I can save you, my brother, from speaking. Just the ending caught my attention. It says, God wills that you shall have ease and does not will you to suffer hardship. In the translation, it says, but he desires that you complete the number of days and that you extol God. And then, so it's like he wills you to have ease, does not want you to suffer hardship, but he wants you to complete these days. I mean, that's how they translated it. In the Arabic, I'm not sure there's such a but there. And the way I understand it, like without the but, is that the ease that he wills us to have to seek, ease from our suffering and our hardship is in completing the days of fasting that we are doing. That is where the ease is. And as we are doing that fasting that we're speaking of, we will see that we wish to extol God because we are being guided by him. and we would like to show our appreciation to him. Just that the ease is in the fasting. It's not like a but, as I saw in the translation. Just wanted to make a note on that.
Jazakallah khair. Very good point. That's a way to read it, and I think this wa over there can be read as such. And yep, even not only and but as such, as you were saying. So, any comments about the relationship between Quran and fasting? Okay, apparently as the time of iftar is getting close, people, okay, Brother Birkam, please go ahead.
Maybe some scattered thoughts is, so previously we said there's a connection between fasting, belief, and God, reaching God consciousness. So fasting is acting as a breach, as a pathway between the two. And here, I guess we see that the Quran is explaining more. He said, the Quran says, this is how you reach God consciousness. So at the end, it is kind of summarized that God consciousness is possible through realizing that He's constantly guiding you, extol or glorifying Him, which would lead you to shukran, to thank to Him. Being in such a constantly being in such a state, realizing that He's guiding me and being thankful for this. And Quran says when you fast, when you realize that you are needy, that you are weak, that you are in need of guidance, that you are in need of creation, then Quran reveals to you, then Quran is open to you, that you start understanding what is revealed in Quran. Then you understand that you are being created, you are a created being. This is how Quran starts, right? The revelation. Read in the name of your Lord who created you. So in such a state, which is established with fasting, realizing your weakness, realizing your needs, then you can understand that there is a Lord over you. There is a Lord over you who creates you and everything else. Fasting provides this understanding, and Quran, whatever in Quran, whatever Quran represents to you in your life is open to you as a guidance, as a standard to distinguish true and false. It is open to you when you fast, when you realize your neediness, when you submit yourself to your Lord. This is how Quran is open to you.
So maybe I'll be repeating a few of what you said, but Jazakallah khair, I liked it a lot. So by realizing my neediness through, as we have been discussing so far, realizing that I am not the owner of food, I'm not the owner of myself, I'm not the owner of my own thought, I don't create anything, I am being given existence. If I realize that, if I get to realize that, and then I realize also my neediness for guidance through this, then I would say, oh, my Creator, give me guidance. Then I will be ready to receive revelation. Otherwise, what would happen? If I feel like, well, I am smart enough to figure out something by myself. I don't need God to tell me what to do, what not to do, for instance. Or, yeah, if I think hard enough, well, maybe I cannot solve all the problems, but I can solve some of my problems. If I am having some sort of a self-reliance as such, which is lack of the God consciousness that comes with fasting, I wouldn't take Quran that seriously. Even if I am a believer, I will maybe read it just as another text out there, another personal development text, or another psychology text that I can benefit from, but just another one. It's not the Al-Furqan, for example, as well Furqan in here. It is the criterion of truth from falsehood. I would say, well, it's not the criterion. It is just a criterion at best, I would say. But if I realize my neediness, and if I recognize who I am really, am I some sort of a small creator, small lord, or I'm just a needy servant? I am, the only thing that I have is, the only role that I have in this existence is I am being given. I am the recipient. I am not the source of anything whatsoever. Therefore, I am in need of guidance also. In addition to this, I'm in need of guidance also. So, oh my Creator, reveal me guidance. This is why Ramadan is the best time for me to open up to revelation. So in a sense, now concluding it, this is why Ramadan is being called as the month of Quran, because as if I am being invited to do fasting so that I open myself, my heart, to the guidance of my Creator, rather than saying that I am enough for myself or mankind is enough for me. We have a lot of philosophies out there that they are sufficient for me to figure out what the purpose of life is, or why am I going through this coronavirus, or why is my boss treating me like that, this and that, these sorts of troubles. Rather than finding them temporary solutions, fasting, as if softens my heart and mind, makes me realize my limitations and makes me open up to the revelation. This is what I understood from Brother Birkan's comment. Jazakallah khair. Anything else you would like to add before we conclude? No concluding remarks? Okay. So, Jazakallah khair. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. May Allah make our Ramadan full of sustenance of our heart as well, as much as it is a sustenance for our body. And may Allah make us benefit from this month through studying Quran, or make us ready to receive the revelation of Quran and make this month a month of Quran for ourselves. And may Allah make every day, every night of this month like a Laylatul Qadr. May He give us the benefit of Laylatul Qadr from every night of this month. Ameen. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Al-Fatiha.